Good evening. Wow, look at everybody in this room, dressed to the nines. All your teachers and your family are here to cheer you on. Man, the excitement in this room and the energy in this room is infectious. Well, that's what I would have said if we were all sitting in the Houstonian like we normally do, but hey, it's 2020. And we cannot be in that room because if we were, it'd be more than just the excitement and the energy that would be infectious. And a few weeks later, we'd all be sitting in a room that we wouldn't really like, surrounded by doctors and nurses. But thankfully, we can still be together because this is the new together. When you think about it, maybe this is just the next stage in our digital evolution. I mean, if we were to go back, say, 70, 80 years and thought about how we would be interacting, it would be a much different format than today. I mean, besides the fact that you'd have a young Professor Webb talking to a struggling student, say John Pingle, I'm really talking about the manner in which technology has changed how we come together and communicate. Although what we say hasn't changed much, the way we do has. Believe it or not, it was not that long ago that if you wanted to talk to someone, you either wrote them a letter and you told them everything you wanted them to know, and you mailed it in hopes that they would receive it, and that a month or so later you would get a reply. Or you would find a way to physically come together and you would listen to the words coming out of each other's mouths, and we called that interacting. And then technology changed that. It allowed us to connect in ways that we never thought possible before. Messages that could take days or months to reach somebody now only took hours. And then telephones came along and it changed the world again. Now, in an instant, not only could you visit with the person on the other side of town or on the other side of the world, but you could hear their voice and the inflections in their speech and tone, and the context and the meaning became rich. Then we all got email, and we started to save time by typing each other a message, kind of like that written letter, but we knew you'd get it today. And we knew that you would respond in a day or two and be able to hear back from that person. Fast forward several years and we went to cell phones. And now that audio conversations we could have anywhere. We could always connect with somebody. We didn't have to know if they were home or not. We could have that conversation anywhere in the world. But the biggest thing that I know is when we got text messages. Oh, text messages. This was better than email, better than phone calls. It was that short message that you could just send instantly, and you would get an instant reply. Our thoughts became shorter. Our written language became abbreviated. And you mean, I don't have to talk to anybody at any time. I'll just send them a text. Listen, text message even changed the other technologies that I just mentioned. I mean, think about it. Have you ever received a text or an email or a phone call from somebody who was upset that you didn't reply to their email that they sent yesterday? That's because we reply so fast electronically to text that even email now becomes an instant message. In fact, email is just a greater than 180 character text message. It seems though that's everything in our world has become this way. I call it the microwave effect. It's not about taking an hour to cook a potato. Now you can cook that potato in 5 minutes in the microwave. Or even better, instant mashed potatoes. Yeah, we've become a very instant society. Now we have this great medium of video where we can have instant face-to-face communication. We can hear each other's voice, hear the meaning, see what's going on in the background. But you can do it all while you're cooking dinner, sending a text message to your friend. And the beauty of it is with video, we don't even have to wear pants anymore. It's an exciting time. But it's also an infectious time. And not in a COVID sort of way, but infectious in the need for instant success. But in this, we could miss on the real meaning of it all. You see, very few instant things create a memory for you to reflect on. And very few successes in your future will ever happen in an instant. You have to be intentional with your direction because the best things happen over time. When you think back to the best memory you had in high school or growing up, or even here at the university, was it a single text or an instant moment that happened? Or did it happen over hours or weeks or days? Think about the best meal you ever ate. Did he cook it in a microwave? Or was it prepared from scratch with fresh ingredients? And most importantly, were you alone when this happened? Or were you surrounded by friends or people that you cared about? You see, we live in an instant society, but the things that have the most meaning in life, that are the most special, that bring the biggest value, that give you the greatest success, never really happen in an instant. They take time. Never forget that. Think about your journey to this place tonight. There's not a person who's hearing my voice at this moment that has gotten to the place where you are in less than 18 years. You went through 12 plus years of schooling to get to college, and then another 2 to 4 years to prepare you for this next chapter in your life. Life after college will be no different. Sales and marketing are really no different. I think about the story about my first sales appointment. It was with Mrs. Rasmussen. I will never forget it. Now you have to understand how I got to this point. It took weeks to get the job, 6 straight days of learning a script, a few days of prospecting before I finally set my first appointment. Though I assured my sales manager I had it, he insisted on joining me on that appointment. Mrs. Rasmussen was great. I learned a few things about her and her family and her friends, and then I transitioned right into solving a problem for her that she may not have known she had. Easily, I'd be done quickly and walk out with a check. Well, I was wrong. Mrs. Rasmussen spent an hour not telling me about what she wanted, but telling me about how she had already purchased everything and showing me all the paperwork and documents of that previous purchase. I had great intentions, but I was lost. I had nothing to sell at this point. I had just spent the last 5 weeks getting to this table, and there was no sale to be made. My manager finally jumped in. He complimented her on her purchase and offered a service from us to go back to the office, make photocopies of her paperwork so that she could give it to her friends. And she was so grateful. When I got back in the car, the first words out of my mouth were, "I'm sorry that I wasted your time today." As he drove us back to the office, he reviewed each aspect of the process and taught me an invaluable lesson. I could start to see how I could have done better. But she owned everything. What was the point? Then he directed me to the part where I was supposed to ask for referrals, which of course I did not. He made me get out a pen and write down all that I had learned about Mrs. Rasmussen and her family. And it was then that I realized all the folks that she talked about and all the things that she gave me to work with. And he said, "That's why I gave you the lifeline, to make photocopies and go back, so that you could have a chance to correct this missed opportunity." That really launched my career. And I've told that story hundreds of times. When I've told that story, I was really more talking about teaching sales professionals about opportunity, or to teach managers about coaching and leadership, and how you can recognize that there's an opportunity in everything. And as I reflect on that story tonight, what I hope strikes you is that it wasn't an instant success. Most success is not instant. It doesn't really matter what you're majoring in. The concept is the same. For example, what do you picture when I say Geico Insurance? Now I can't hear your answer, but I'm guessing you picture a little green lizard. And you may think, that's just a 30-second commercial, Brian. That's an instant spot, an instant success. That made me an instant memory. But the reality is, that mascot's been around for 22 years. It took 22 years to get to that point, and it wasn't cheap. In 2012 alone, they spent $1.2 billion to get us to this point. You see, it takes time to grow, but the investment can be worth it. As you go into the workplace, carry this with you. Many of you have aspirations to lead a big team, to own companies, to make millions. But just like my appointment with Mrs. Rasmussen, it took a lot of time and some very seemingly inconsequential events to take place. I failed along the way in getting it done. But all those events were building blocks. Take time to perfect your craft, because it'll take 100 building blocks for you to grow with, and 100 more for you to continue on. Now you may be wondering, How will I know when I'm ready for the next level? Their answer is you probably won't. Les Brown once said, leap before you're ready. I was offered the biggest sales gig of my career at one point, and I took the leap. I thought it'd be a breeze, but it was hard. I had some great successes, but I failed many times. The fun fact is about this story, 2 years later, the person who put me in that role took me out of that role and demoted me to a position that was characterized as less than the one he took me from. I thought I was done, and it was time to move on and figure out what I could do next. But I learned how to grow from it. I took that failure and I molded it into a block that I could step on. Fast forward a couple years, and that same person who demoted me was the person who promoted me to the AVP of the corporate office that I am today. You see, go back to how I mentioned the world became instant with a text message. That text message you send today and you receive today might be instant, but the reality is, if you think about what was behind it, it took years and years to build that text message process, the infrastructure, the hardware, the code, to make that happen, and years more to perfect it. You could be a text message. You can change the world, and it will take time to do it. So I've gone on, and many of you have walked away from the screen or have come back hopefully, or you're texting your peers about the after party. But if that's you, just give me one more minute and let me leave you with this. This life, your career is not about being instant. The road at times will be hard and long. There'll be potholes and ditches and speed bumps along the way. It's not about the speed that you go, as sometimes the speed can make the problems worse. What matters is that you take time to soak up every learning you can get along the way. Use that to improve the journey, to smooth the road, and to correct your course. Because it was at this event a few years ago that Steven Stagner said, it's the direction you go, not the intention you want to go, that will determine your success. Congratulations to all of you for completing this program, and for those of you here tonight who are joining. Thank you, and be well.